A few days ago, I picked up a Pit Boss Series 5 vertical smoker and I did a pork butt on it for its maiden voyage. It turned out really good. But then I was rummaging through the freezer and I thought, well, what can I make with what I already have? I came across a really nice pork tenderloin and some thick cut bacon. But then I thought, why don't we take it up another level and add some jalapeno poppers into the middle of it? So today, just out of the blue, I'm gonna make a bacon wrapped pork loin stuffed with jalapeno poppers. I have no idea how it's gonna turn out. I've never done this before, but join me and hopefully it turns out really well in this week's episode of Don't Burn the House Down. Alright, so starting off with the pork loin. This one's got quite a bit of fat on the top of it, as they usually do, so I am gonna trim most of this off. So now that we've got it trimmed up pretty nicely, we're going to attempt to do a butterfly cut. I want this thing to be laid open nice and flat. It's pretty thin already, so this is going to be a little bit tricky, but I think we should be okay. Now you'll see I did some additional scoring on the sides here. This is to help the seasoning settle in there. It'll help it cook a little bit more even. I don't want it to have any really thick spots. It needs to all be about one thickness. And if I have a thick spot, I'm just gonna butterfly a little bit so that it lays open a little better. Now that we've got the tenderloin filleted out in a nice even thickness, I'm gonna use a Jacquard meat tenderizer. This is a tool that I used to use in a steakhouse I worked in for several years. It's a great way to tenderize meat and give it a little bit more, area for the seasoning to sink into it. I also find that it helps meat cook a little bit more evenly. And if you have a really tough cut of meat, whether it's a steak or whether it's a chop, it helps to make it a little bit easier to chew. So to season it, I'm gonna use Good Shit. Now that's not me being funny, it's actually the name of the seasoning. It's from Big Cock Ranch, again, not being funny, but this stuff is actually really good. They have a whole lineup of different seasonings for, they have one for beef, they have one for chicken, they have one with no salt, they have a hot one. This one's just kind of a universal one, so I like this on pork and fish. So we'll season this up rather nicely here on both sides. And then we'll just let that rest for a minute and absorb all those seasonings. Now onto the jalapenos. I'm simply gonna cut these in half, lengthwise, and make sure I get all the seeds out of them, because I don't want this to be so hot that you can't eat it, but I definitely want it to have a little bit of kick. I don't know how many I'm gonna need, so we're just gonna do all of them here and figure it out. All right, so I just decided that I am gonna cut the jalapenos up into strips just so they cook a little more evenly inside the pork. Again, I've never done this before. I'm just kind of winging it. So I'm just gonna put these into quarters just so it's a little easier to lay them out while they're inside that pork. All right, now for the filling. What I'm gonna start with is 1 brick of cream cheese and some mozzarella cheese. I'm probably gonna have to work with the ratios a little bit as I'm playing with it so I can get the right consistency that I'm looking for, but this is where we're gonna start. so aside from totally ruining my cheap Sam's Club disposable gloves, I now have a nice ball of very moldable mozzarella and cream cheese. So I think that's gonna serve me really well when I go to layer it on here. It'll be a little easier than trying to squeeze it out of a tube or something. So let's build this thing. We are gonna start, and we're only gonna build one half of the pork, obviously because the other half is gonna lay over on top of it. So we are gonna layer in some jalapenos. Now we're gonna take the ball here. We're gonna try to press it out just a little bit. No, maybe not, maybe just by hand. I'll try to get this as thin as I can. And then we're just gonna peel off some chunks. Lay it on there. Look at that. That's the insides. I'm gonna do a little bit more mozzarella on top of the cream cheese here, just because, well, you know, cheese. Looking at this now, I can almost guarantee you this is gonna make a huge mess in the smoker. So we're gonna have to make sure we have a pan underneath it. Oh well, we're just here to have fun. Now let's build this thing. Shut it down here. Fold that over. Nice big pork sandwich out of it. Look at that. I'm gonna try to tuck it in there a little bit so that it's not super close to the edge, and see if I can get these pieces to kind of touch each other. That way I can put some toothpicks in it and get it to stay shut as much as possible. Look at this monster. Now we're gonna lay out the bacon. Look at this thick cut, wonderful bacon. I'm gonna lay this out into nice little strips here. And instead of trying to individually wrap every one of these around that pork loin, we're gonna lay them out and then lay the pork loin on top of this and then wrap them around. Hopefully this will save some energy and that thing won't fall apart as I'm jostling it around. This part I am going to use the toothpicks on. Last thing I'm going to do is put some toothpicks through the very ends here in an attempt and a hope that this will keep them from spilling all the guts out at the ends, which I think it probably will in the smoker, but we're gonna find out. Look at that beast. All right, so now we're gonna head out back and throw this thing on the smoker. I'm going to be using my Tappeque barbecue thermometer. This is a Wi-Fi connected thermometer that actually talks to an app that goes on your smartphone and allows you to track what you're cooking from anywhere in the world. So as long as your phone has internet connection, you have Wi-Fi at your house, this will allow you to check where it's at. It also shows you some really nice graphs and charts. It has alerts for when your meat is done cooking. It'll ding your phone and tell you to check the meat. It's super handy to have for anybody that does any low and slow or outside cooking. This is an absolute must. So I'll show you some pictures of the app while this is cooking, but definitely pick yourself up one of these Tappeques. The link will be in the comments below. But here we go. All right, so here we are back outside with the Pit Boss Series 5 vertical smoker. We're gonna fire this up. Now, the very first thing you have to do is when you do turn on a pellet smoker, make sure you have pellets in the back, which We do. The hopper's about 2/3 full. That's a good thing. We're gonna come down to here on the control panel, turn it to smoke, hold that power button to on. You wanna make sure the door is cracked a little bit. That way if there's any little particles in there, they don't ignite and cause this thing to blow up. And then as soon as this starts to smoke, we're gonna shut the door and we're gonna preheat it. Now, I don't know exactly what temperature to cook this at. Again, I'm not following any recipes, but what I do know is that bacon won't crisp if you do it any lower than about 350 or 400 degrees. But I also know that with pork, you usually want to cook it low and slow. So I'm kind of torn here because I want crispy bacon, but I also want the pork not to be dried out. So I am going to set it about 375 just to see how it does. And then we may need to make some modifications along the way. So we'll let this preheat and then we'll come back to it in a few minutes. All right, so while the smoker's heating up, let's talk about the Tappeque and the app. So the first things first, I'm gonna turn on the Tappeque unit itself. It's got the big green light here, lets me know that it's on. I actually shut it back off, so let's turn it back on. It's got a nice little screen here that will show me the 4 different probes. It takes up to 4 probes that you can run. You can do chamber probes or you can do just 4 different meats. Right now it shows me pork at 61 degrees. That was from the pork shoulder. So we're gonna go into the app. Log in. We're gonna go start new session. Session name, we'll call this pork loin. Next. Select our probes. The very first one is going to be a pork probe. We are going to set that minimum temperature at 145 and that max temperature about 150. Should be done about 145. We're gonna hit save. So we've got the 1 probe. We could add more if we needed to, or if we needed a chamber probe, but I know how that smoker cooks, so we're not gonna need that. We'll go next. We're gonna send the notifications to my Galaxy Note 10 Plus. Session has started, so now if we go to view the current session here, on Tappeque, that's the name of my Tappeque. This will show you the temperatures. So the pork is currently at 61 degrees. It's got several different graphs that you can choose from. Obviously this one isn't going to populate much yet because we just started it. And then you can also leave notes in here for when you go to barbecue. So the Tappeque app is really nice in that regard, that it lets you track your smokes or your low and slow cooks in the oven or whatever you're going to do with it. But it's really handy to have, especially when you go out and about. You can check it from afar. So the smoker should be heated up. Let's go put this baby on. Hear that fire roaring in there? Alright, I'm going to put the tray underneath it just to catch any drippings that are going to come off that, which I know are going to be a bunch. Get that door closed. That's it. We're gonna let her cook. All right, midway point check here. The app is showing about 111 degrees. Let's take a peek and see how she's doing in here. I don't know if you can see that very well, but she's definitely gooing some cheese out the side there. So hopefully some of that cheese sticks around on the inside and doesn't all leak out. Probably figured that was going to happen, but oh well, that's what we get for experimenting. We'll be back in a bit. So the Tappeque just said the meat's done. I'm going to probe it a few times here just to make sure. Shh. And then see how she looks. Oh yeah. Look at that. So 145. She should be perfect. Bacon looks good. Oh yeah. me off. Hold on, flip it over. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Okay. Go ahead and turn this off. Let's take her back inside. All right, so we got it off the grill. It's been sitting here for about 10 minutes, so let's cut into her and see how she does. Look at that. Would you come over here close and get real close on this thing? Oh, baby, look at that. I don't even know how to dish this up. Let's try it like this. I don't know how to heat this. Here we go. We'll have bacon. Gloves on, why not? Okay. Ready? Okay. Really good. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. You feel free to use this recipe. You want to tweak it, make it your own. The only thing I would change is if I could get the grill a little bit hotter. I did go up to 400 in the smoker. So if you can go to 400, 425, you might get a little crispier bacon on it. But aside from that, man, this turned out really, really well. So thanks for watching.